welcome to Two of a Kind Sports, the show where passion meets the game. I'm your host, Denise.
I'm your co-host D Nice.
And this week, NFL week number 16, we will be taking a deep dive into the Washington Commanders hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. So you won't want to miss this one. So let's get into it. D Nice, I
Yes.
want you to start us off with the happenings of week number 16 for the Washington Commanders being now at home at Northwest Stadium hosting the Dirty Birds.
Fly Eagles fly, as they say, right? That's what they
Did
did to
they?
us.
Did they?
They did in the second half. They definitely, those Eagles was definitely flying. But I must say, in the first half, I was very impressed with the effort, especially from the defensive side of the ball. The defense came out with a lot of energy and, kind of seemed attentive to their details. So I was very impressed with that. Which we kind of started out fast. We didn't play too much from behind, Denise. So that
Well,
goes
tell me
into
about that kickoff return. Tell me
right.
about the kickoff return.
So the kickoff return, the first play of the game, we kicked the ball off to the Eagles, as you know, and Mikey Sanders still punches the ball out, okay, and then Kay Madrano he recovers with a fumble, so that gave the Commanders, before we even had a first drive, that gave the Commanders the ball, and we got the ball from that fumble, so we were very hyped. Kay Madrano, that was a great recovery, and Mikey Sanders still set the tone, Denise.
And so from that, we were able to kick a field goal, right?
Right. So on our first drive, as we went down, Jake Moody made a 20-yard field goal, which made it. It was 11 minutes and 39 seconds left in the first quarter, which made it 3-0 the Washington Commanders.
I told you, Jake Moody is my main man. You made me defend him last week.
That's your guy.
I'm doing it. Yes, Jake Moody, our kicker, is my main man. So Jake Moody set the tone, put us on the scoreboard first.
Right.
So we are at Commanders 3, Philly Dirty Birds 0, right where they belong.
That is correct.
However, we couldn't enjoy it, but for so long, because Jalen Hurts threw a touchdown pass to DeVonta Smith.
Yeah, DeVonta Smith.
Yeah, DeVonta Smith got a touchdown.
Some people say Devonta, but it's Devontae.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to say Devontae.
It's almost like a how you said last week, Denise? Mariota.
Oh, Mariota.
That had me cracking up last week when I heard that, Denise.
Yes.
So his enunciation is
names correctly. And look, if we get it wrong, it is purely unintentional, because we here at Two of a Kind Sports don't want to put any type of bad juju on our Commanders.
No, we do not.
We want to get the names right, because it's easy to get superstitious when you're a sports fan, even though you may not intend to. But if you do something and you get a bad result, you don't want to do that again. So we want to get these names right. So I am saying DeVonta Smith of Philadelphia Eagles got a touchdown to put the Philadelphia Eagles ahead of our Washington Commanders. So the score became, in this first quarter, Philadelphia 7, Washington 3.
That is correct. So, with it in this half, Denise, since we're speaking of kickers, how would you have liked for Jake Elliott from the Philadelphia Eagles to been our kicker? Now, he was accounted twice for 2 missed field goals, right?
Yeah, in one half of the game. So it didn't take the whole game.
Exactly. So he was counted for technically 2 missed field goals. However, he missed 3. So
he had 3 attempts.
Right. So
2 of them counted, and he missed them both. But let me just thank, because I want to just thank Young Ho Koo of the
Mm-hmm.
New York Giants, their kicker, for missing two. And I want to thank Jake Elliott for attempting three and missing two because the third one didn't count. So I would like to thank these kickers from the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles for giving us a gift, okay? The gift of leaving points on the field instead of putting those points up on the scoreboard against our Commanders. So thank you to the Giants, Young Hoku, for your present to us. And thank you also, Jake Elliott of the Philadelphia Eagles, for your present to us. So thank you. So I want Jake Elliott, like Young Hoku, I want him to be the kicker for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I want him to keep up his good contributions
Mm-hmm.
to the Commanders by missing these field goals. Thank you. Thank you. That's one for each field goal that counted that he missed. And let me give you another one for that third attempt you made, and you missed that one too. So we appreciate all of your wonderful Christmas contributions, Mr. Jake Elliott of
Right.
the Philadelphia Eagles. Thank you. We appreciate that. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. So, Denise, let me ask you this. So, with you, what you've seen in the first half, right? Were you, were you kind of, did you like what you seen from the offense, or do you like what you seen better from the defense, or you didn't like anything within this first quarter that you did see?
No, I have to definitely put the defense
Okay.
ahead because the defense created
Hmm.
an additional opportunity for our offense. And our offense didn't play the complementary football that they should have played
That is correct.
because, with the great field position that they were given, we were only able to get a field goal from the stolen possession, that forced fumble on the kickoff. We should have been able to get a touchdown from that. And then on our next drive, we also should have, been able to score in the end zone and not just rely on Jake Moody's foot, because Jake Moody, he's my main man and he's doing his job. But we really need touchdowns as opposed to just field goals. So we did manage to get a touchdown
Yeah.
uh, before the half. So that was great, and I appreciated that because we really needed that touchdown from Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. Bill,
Dollar bill.
we
That's
always call him Bill, so we don't
yep.
even need to go through Krosky Merritt.
Yep.
But Bill scored a touchdown, and that was really good. That was really impressive. So it just showed that our team was really coming out with a lot of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
They had already beaten the New York Giants, so they had already beaten one division rival, and they took that whole determination and tried to apply it here in this game. So they got off to a good start, which is good because this team has been plagued with slow starts.
Right.
So I
All
was,
year
I
long.
was very encouraged by what I saw in
Right.
this first half of the Commanders' performance. Yes.
Right. So, with me, Denise, what I was most really impressed in this first half, and we've been as Commanders fans, we've been begging for it all year. I actually saw Cliff Kingsbury stick to the run. That's when, as a running back, as I always said, it takes time to get in a groove. So he allowed Bill Crosby Murray to get in a groove, and also, he was running C-Rod, Chris Rodriguez. So I was kind of happy to see that. We actually did some tall sweeps. It wasn't just your traditional going up the middle, or we're going, something crazy. You know what I mean? So Cliff, I do commend him for this game. When Marcus Mariota was healthy, he did run the ball. It still wasn't as what I wanted as far as the flow, but it definitely looked better. But on the contrary to that, the defense, I got to get the defense. I got to shout you guys out. First quarter, first half, I actually seen the energy, as I stated. I seen the details, and you just actually seen them flying around. Like, they're trying to have this thing. They don't know if Mikey Sanders still is better inside or outside. Well, me, even though he may be undersized, I think he plays much better on the outside at least, and it shows. And it's I don't know. It's even helped Quan Martin's play. So a couple people just at times just need to just keep their head in the game and just keep on playing, and let the chips fall where they may. But I'm proud of DQ. He definitely has this this defense playing a little better and a little bit more sense of urgency.
Well, yeah, and to your point, I was definitely surprised, pleasantly
Mm-hmm.
surprised to see that our defense contained the Philadelphia Eagles in this first half
Oh
to
yeah.
only one score.
Yes.
Only one touchdown, because we went into the half with Washington being up 10-7 over the Philadelphia Eagles. So that speaks very well of our defense, because
Mm-hmm.
the Philadelphia Eagles had a strong running game. They had a
Yeah.
strong ground game, and their air game is deadly, because when Jalen diverts to that,
Mm-hmm.
they get some good results.
Yeah.
So I was very happy about that. So to your point, yes, we definitely have to commend our defense, because
Yeah.
our defense contained the Philadelphia Eagles in this first half of the
Yeah.
game to only one score. And back to Mr. Jake Elliott, he
Yeah.
helped tremendously with that, because he did have opportunities to kick field goals. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
two field goals he had an opportunity to kick. The second one he got a second attempt on, but each time Jake Elliott, the kicker, attempted to kick a field goal,
Mm-hmm.
whether it counted or whether it didn't, he missed. So he was very consistent with his missing the field goals. So our defense did keep the Eagles out of that end zone, except for the one score in the first half of the game. So I was very encouraged by that. Very
Yeah.
much so.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Definitely was encouraged. It was tailored two halves. The second half, once Mariota went out, that was totally different. I mean, it just like the Eagles just turned it up. You got in the second half, as we were talking about, you actually had Saquon Barkley go off. You actually had Jalen Hurts go off, and you actually had AJ Smith. So it was you could just see the game kind of shifting once Mariota went out in the second half. But
Yeah.
you know that's football, and as we always say, the next man up. But you're a pretty bad team when you're down to your third man. And speaking of that, we were down to our third quarterback, which was Josh Johnson in the second half. But do you know, Commanders fans, we didn't even have an emergency quarterback on the roster. Sam Hartman was not even active for this game. So if he had went down, I would have been very interested. That would have been very interesting to see who would have actually been the quarterback.
Well, you
Um,
know what? A lot of wide receivers in the pros were quarterbacks in college.
mhm.
So I'm thinking we probably would have taken one of our wide receivers who may have been a college quarterback and put him out there. But Josh Johnson, I didn't even know about this guy, but
Mhm.
he came out and he tried to do what he could, but it was very apparent that he was in over his head, and the moment was really too big for him.
Mhm.
Now he's on the roster. He is collecting a paycheck for however much that is. I think he should have been better prepared, because this team has, throughout this entire season, been racked and riddled with injuries. So with these players, you have to have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C, and going on down the alphabet, because when we put people out there, it seems as though our players this season have not been in good condition. And I have been saying it right here on Two of a Kind Sports, week in, week out. Our strength and conditioning team needs to be seriously, seriously reevaluated, because to me, they have not been effective. To me, they have not strengthened this team. To me, they have not put this team in good condition, because our players get hurt all of the time. And some of our players have been getting hurt repeatedly. Okay. So when we've been losing as many players as we have been to the injured reserve list, as opposed to the active player list, there is a serious problem. And again, I don't hear anybody talking about that, but I'm going to talk about it right here on Two of a Kind Sports. Tad Engelhart, who is the head of the Washington Commanders strength and conditioning team, really needs to be called into not Dan Quinn's office. I don't want anybody called into Mr. Quinn's office, because then he's going to offer you some hot cocoa, and you might have a hug and all that kind of stuff. But maybe Adam Peters, okay? Maybe Adam Peters needs to have a meeting with Chad Englehart and let Mr. Chad Englehart know that the strength and conditioning team has not been very effective. The injury report bears that out. Okay, this is not an opinion. The facts are there. Okay, our team has been racked and riddled with injuries. Our players have had multiple injuries. It's not just that, we have a player who gets injured one time, comes back, and it's okay. We have had multiple players with multiple injuries. So we really need to reevaluate the strength and conditioning team for the Commanders.
Let me ask you this, Denise. So would you put this accident with Chad with Mariota, because that was a hand injury? He got hit.
No, okay. because Mariota. Let's pronounce my man's name right. Put some respect on his name.
Mariota.
That we've been pronouncing all these years wrong, but okay.
Well, that's how
Marcus.
You know what? He, like I told you before, it's like he had a Joe Theismann moment.
Theismann, yeah, he did.
Because when he first came in, Marcus Mariota used to say Mariota. So
yeah, Mariota, Mr. Mariota.
Yeah, I don't know when that changed, but throughout all these years, he's been saying Mariota.
Okay, right. It was Mariota, but no, Marcus Mariota's injury was a cleat to the hand. One of the players accidentally stepped on his hand, and cleats have the spikes in them to dig into the turf, so that injured his hand. Now, a flat foot to your hand is enough to injure it, and the size of a football player too. So that was, one of those freak injuries. Now, that really was a freak injury. That's not something that you hear about happening very often, because it does not happen very often.
Yes.
However, when you view the condition of this team and the injuries to this team in totality, yes, you do have to look at strength and conditioning. Okay. And since you want to use Marcus Mariota as an example, I'd like to use Noah Brown as an example.
Oh, Lord.
Okay.
You sure about that?
Everybody who's listening knows exactly where I'm going with this one. Okay.
Well, his pass, you can't, I wouldn't necessarily, that's on Chad. This man Noah Brown's been having this issue going back to the Dallas Cowboys, going back to the Houston Texans. So he's been injury plagued, accident prone for a long time.
And when you know the history of someone, okay, as the head of strength and conditioning, it's your team's job to find out what was done in the past, so you can do things differently to yield different results.
Okay, but how can you change that when he's been having different injuries? It ain't the same injury. One minute is his ribs.
They study this.
It's his back.
You can't just say because it's not the same injury, you're not supposed to have a solution for it. Okay, because in the game of football, your entire body.
They do have a solution, but Denise, once he comes back, it's another new injury. So what is it?
I can't necessarily say strength and conditioning.
Okay, I get that, but at what point does the athlete have to take some accountability in this, as far as recovery, and taking care of his body? Because Noah Brown is soft as tissue. I'm sorry.
So what are you saying? That the strength and conditioning team is making all the recommendations, they're putting forth all the programs, and these players are simply choosing not to do what they are.
Strength and conditioning means just exactly what it says. Strength and conditioning. Injuries have not played with Noah Brown having his groin or his ribs. That ain't doing nothing with strength and conditioning. That's all in flexibility in his body. That's not him taking care of his body, because I'm sorry, Denise.
Strength and conditioning is responsible for making sure that the athletes are in good condition, where their bodies can withstand
to get on the field, to be on the field,
pummeling of the NFL, and they are also supposed to keep them strong. The stronger your body is, the better it can defend itself against injuries. And the better condition your body is in, the more your body can prevent further injury in other areas of the body. There is a science to this. Now, I know in your opinion,
because I think he needs some Pilates and he needs some yoga. His body.
But why? But you don't think the strength and conditioning team recommended that he do Pilates?
That's all they can do. They can recommend that, but that's still on the athlete, Denise. To actually do
now see, and here's where we get to bad management. Okay, if you're running a team, if you're the head coach of a team, okay, your strength and conditioning crew is part of your coaching staff. So when your staff makes recommendations to players and your players don't take those recommendations, are you just gonna, oh, well, they just didn't do, it's their responsibility? No.
Right.
See, this is management. And look, if you're not doing what Chad Engelhart tells you to do, is akin to you not doing what the offensive coordinator tells you to do, or you not doing what the special teams coordinator tells you to do. Okay. So it's just as you don't get to ignore Cliff Kingsbury, you don't get to ignore Izzo. You have to do what the coaching staff tells you to do. Now, I'm being nice by saying these are suggestions and recommendations, but really they're marching orders. Okay,
because they log everything. They log everything when you.
And if the player isn't following recommendations, healthcare experts can tell by the progress that is made or not being made. Okay, so they know when you're doing what they recommend as opposed to when you're not doing what they recommend. Right. So
in this case with Noah Brown, how can, if they're recommending and the man and the man just gets hurt, different injury after different injury, I wouldn't say that's actually that's really on the strength and conditioning.
It's partly them and it's partly the player. I mean, look, there's enough blame to go around. But if you're only going to put it on the players to take care of their bodies, then sweetheart, you don't need a strength and conditioning team, because they can go online and use artificial intelligence the same way you do, the same way I do, and find out, hey, what do I need to do to keep myself healthy? What do I need to do to get in better shape? So by your logic, you put Chad and his whole crew out of a job, because by your logic, you don't even need them. If they can only make suggestions and the suggestions carry with it no authority, no consequences. Right. So yes, I expect our strength and conditioning team to use modern medical science, because this is science, okay?
That is correct. Yes.
To put our players in better condition and keep them strong, make them stronger than they were before. Okay. Right. Strength is an always evolving situation, okay? Because your body is always changing. So our strength and conditioning team is supposed to keep up with scientific advances to keep our team healthy, strong, and in good condition, so we're not overtaken with injuries, because injuries are a part of this game. Okay?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Nobody escapes from that. However, when injuries are impacting your lineup, you don't know from week to week who you're going to have. Okay? And you are on second string, third string, fourth string players because people are going out hurt. And this has been happening all throughout the season. In most cases, teams deal with a lot of injuries middle and end of the season because of all the time that has gone by and all the wear and the tear on the body. We've started off, we in Burgundy and Gold started off all season long with injuries. And then we've been having recurring incidents where, if one part of the body gets injured, another part of the body tries to compensate.
Yeah, so overcompensate.
We don't know if these injuries are not associated and related and tied to each other.
But also diet, your diet, all that plays. That's why I say it's other factors. So of
course there are other factors, but how do those other factors absolve a team that is involved in medical science? yielding better
So
results
we
than
had
what
we
we
had the
got. So
same
if you're
medical
dissatisfied with
staff
the
last
results,
year. We had the same medical staff last year. I just think this year we just got a bad burn because last year we didn't have injuries and we thought we had one of the best medical staffs in the league. This year we were really hampered by injuries. But to your point, at 4-12, Denise, everything at the end of the season should be evaluated. So I'm not taking away from that, but I'm just saying I don't think with particularly this year I can necessarily say it was just strength and conditioning.
not just.
Right.
Come on now. I never said it was just.
Okay, I got you. But I
I'm
mean,
putting them on the hot seat
I
because
know
when
you didn't say just, but then you're putting a lot of onus on Chad. And as I say, the first onus comes on the player itself. You know, you have your strength
yes,
and recovery people there. You know what I mean? They're there. That's an actual service that, that's provided by the team. Even when you have your medical doctors. But as your due diligence as a player, even if those doctors tell you certain things, you have the right to go get a second opinion. You have the right to go outside and get extra help. So,
but you don't have the right not to follow their suggestions. You
right. Well,
don't
you
have.
can follow it, but for
You should.
Noah Brown, I don't know what it is with him, Denise. I don't know why he can't stay healthy. This goes beyond our strength and conditioning. Like I said, when he was with the Dallas Cowboys, same issue. When he was with the Houston Texans, same issue.
So he has a history, so he has something that they can study.
Right.
Okay, which is an advantage because if he had just come up with all these injuries out of the blue, out of nowhere, that would be a more difficult situation to diagnose. But when you have somebody with a history, there's a lot you can study. There's a lot you can look.
Why even pick that person up? Why pick up damaged goods?
Well, that part is not Chad Englehart's problem. Now, I don't put that on Chad Englehart.
That was
but
AP.
Look, when you hire, okay, in any field, okay, when you hire a team of specialists, you're supposed to expect better results. So if you are okay hiring a team of science, well, I'm not going to say they're scientists, but they are involved in the field of medicine, in the field of
science.
Okay, because it is a science.
Yes.
And you don't expect better results, or you don't express that you expect better results. If you don't put them on notice that you expect better results, guess what you're going to get?
No results.
And the thing about it is, it's trying times like this where your strength and conditioning team has the opportunity to rise to the occasion and show their value. Okay, because like you said, last season, you didn't have all these injuries. Okay, well, last season, they had a good time with it. So they didn't have to problem solve as much. But this time,
got a lot of data now.
This is the situation we're in now. Now we're having problems. So you know what you have to get when you have problems? You have to have your problem solvers rise to the occasion. And it is my opinion, and I realize I'm flying solo on this, and I don't mind that. But I am saying that I need our strength and conditioning team to come up with far better solutions than what we are seeing. Because in this modern age, with all of the technological and scientific advances that we have made in modern medicine, we should not be racked and riddled with injuries as badly as we are. That is what I am saying. That is my point.
I agree. And I understand.
I'm not. And
very valid. That's fair. That's very fair.
I have not advocated for Chad Englehart to be fired. Yeah. I said reevaluated.
No, it don't. You never said it. But sometimes you come for him, Denise, and it seems like you're trying to get him.
Yes.
You seem like
guilty as charged.
Right.
Guilty as charged. So yes, and I've been calling him out by name, and I have been. And you know what? Chad Englehart might come on this show and shut me all the way up. But you know what?
He might have data to back it up. Like, hey, this is why this happens. But yeah, but I understand. Like you said, and we're both saying the same thing. At 4-12, everything needs to be reevaluated.
Yeah.
From AP to Margaret Newberg, all the way down trickle effect to strength and conditioning. Let's reevaluate everything. And we have 2 more weeks, as you know, and Black Monday is coming. So we're gonna see. we definitely gonna see. But your points are very valid, definitely valid. So trust me, I wasn't getting on you about that, but
Well,
I'm just
look,
saying.
look. If Chad comes, I can say, look, that was only one half of two of a kind sport. Because
Yeah,
D
yeah,
Nice was on your side. D Nice
right,
said it wasn't
right,
you. D
right.
Nice said, hey, look, Denise, you were just barking up the wrong tree here. But you do get my point. And like
Yes,
I
I
said,
do.
I'm not,
I just want the players to take a little bit more
yeah,
accountability too, because as like we
definitely.
said, this is a profession. This is your job. So if you're doing any 9 to 5 job and you don't go in with your tools, what are you? You're incompetent, right? And then
Yep.
in football, the
Not
best
equipped for
ability
the
is
good work.
availability.
Yep.
So Noah Brown is just like we haven't had him on the field since week 2, and then he comes back last week, plays, catches one ball, and then he's out again for a rib injury. So it's like at this point, like I say, Noah Brown might be a real cool dude. I think he's a phenomenal football player when he's healthy, but I can't have that I can't
I
next
think
year
he's
going to next year.
overrated.
I cannot take up a roster spot with damaged goods. We
I think
got
he's
too much of
overrated.
that, and we cannot have that next year, Denise.
Yeah,
Not
because
at
it's
all.
like you said, your best ability is your
That
availability.
is correct.
So, you go a whole season
Mm-hmm.
and you do nothing and you don't contribute to the team in a,
And you're on IR now, which they should have been did.
yeah.
I feel like that was a wasted roster spot all season.
And that gets down to, like you talked about before, attrition.
Yeah.
Who are you picking up and why?
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of attrition, okay,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Josh Johnson. Now I want to give him, another chance. Well, we don't have any option, okay?
Right, right.
He's going to face off against the Dallas Cowboys in our next game on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
However, Josh Johnson did not look prepared.
No.
He did not have the composure. He certainly didn't have the accuracy. Okay, he threw an interception, but you know what? It's the Christmas season,
Right.
okay? So I'm going to say the moment may have been too big for him on his first outing. Okay?
Yeah, because he was just thrown in the pack of wolves, and
Right.
he don't get no reps or nothing throughout the week. So that was a tall thing. That was a lot. That was a lot.
That's a tall. Yeah, he was really put in an unfavorable circumstance. So
yes.
Hopefully next game
because he have more reps with the players, with the wide receivers,
a better performance. Right. Yes, and you know what? I don't want to start off on another tangent, but this whole thing of not getting reps, I need these practices to be reevaluated because, to say a player is on the roster and he gets called up and he's on the gridiron and he hasn't gotten reps, we have to find a way to let people who are on the roster get some reps. I mean, you can't, have, everybody starting with everybody the whole time. But I've been hearing too much of they didn't get reps. They didn't get reps because we've had to go through, second string, third string players. We've had to pull people up from the practice squad and off the street and thus and so. So, I just would like our practices to be run more efficiently and run with more discipline to whereas when we do put anybody out on that field, because look, if you're on this roster and you're collecting a paycheck, you should be ready when called. We don't know the day nor the hour, okay? As the old saying, neither the day nor the hour. But when called, when you are part of a roster and you are collecting a paycheck, we should expect some level of preparedness on the part of our players. And Mr. Josh Johnson, he exposed some areas that really need to be addressed. But I'm hoping that he will do better against the Dallas Cowboys because head coach Dan Quinn did say that Josh Johnson will be under center on December 25th.
Yes.
Christmas Day against the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm hoping to see something better from him now that he will have this time to prepare. It's not a lot of time, but it's the only time he's got.
So Josh Johnson, as we both have said, came in the third quarter. It was after the Jalen Hurts 15-yard TD pass to Dallas Goedert, which put the
Yes.
Philadelphia Eagles up 14-10. And then comes into play with Marcus Mariota. They first ruled Mariota out with a concussion. When I seen him go into the 10,
Yeah, I was like, what is going on with that? I thought it was his hand.
Yeah, I was confused. And then even they're saying his hand, Denise. When I looked at the replay, I didn't really see where his hand got stepped on.
I looked at a replay and he was limping.
Yes.
I was like, wait, from the hand to the head to the foot. I mean, the leg. What's going on?
Thank you, Denise. So that made D Nice say, this man ain't hurt. I think his pride hurt. That's what I think. Because how you gonna go
Marcus?
If your hand hurting, right? If your hand hurting, that ain't gonna make you limp. I don't understand that. So we had three different things. We had him a limp. We had him at first. He's supposed to went out with then he cleared concussion protocol. Then he had a towel over his hand. Then I saw him speaking to Josh Johnson, talking about, yeah, you need to get ready, and just showed his hand. But okay, I mean, now this is my thing, Denise. Now, only reason why I'll give him a little pass if it was his hand, right hand, because he's dominant right-handed. Because we see it a lot of quarterbacks in this game now. Baker Mayfield is playing with a dislocated left arm, just like Justin Herbert is playing with a broken left hand and still wearing a brace, and they're still being productive. So I wish, I don't know the whole magnitude or his threshold of pain tolerance, but I would like to see him kind of tough it out a little bit. I think, I don't know. I mean, we all, just like you had your foot stepped on, your hand stepped on, it hurts like hell.
But
I don't think that was something that could have made him out for the game, though, Denise. I mean, that's just me.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of unanswered questions here, but here's what I thought I saw, and trust you me, you can tell by my glasses, honey, my vision is far from 2020, okay? But I thought I saw some blood on his hand, but then the camera hurried up and went somewhere else.
Right.
And then they said, a cleat caught his hand. Now, a regular flat shoe will hurt if
it hurt. Oh, trust me, I know.
And a football player on top of that.
And it's cold outside, yeah.
Yeah, so with the cleat being on the hand, and I thought I saw some blood. I thought I did, but I don't know. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I did. I don't know for sure, but I thought I saw some blood. I think Marcus is probably, because I like him, and I'm going to, sprinkle some sugar and pour some honey on Mr. Mariota. I think he's probably hurt more than he let on. I think he was probably dealing with multiple situations.
Right.
And I think that concussion protocol is something that they do to err on the side of caution,
right?
Than anything else. But when they said he was hurt, and they said they thought it was his hand, and they showed him on the sideline, he was limping.
Yeah, so that's what doesn't add up to me. You know what I mean? And then at this point in time of the year, Denise, you both know, no one is healthy. You know what I mean? But the Washington Commanders had a chance, right? We had a big chance. We had a chance while Marcus Mariota. You just seen the flow of the offense. The defense was even playing complementary football. And all that went out the window once he went out the game. I'm giving shots fired at Josh, because Josh has been a veteran for all these years. So regardless of him not having reps, I just still look at Phillip Rivers last week, came in for the Indianapolis Colts. That man had been retired for 5 years, 44 years old.
Yeah, Phil Rivers came back.
Right, and came back and played a hell of a game. So, with Josh Johnson, just like when he threw that interception on a back foot, I'm like, come on, dude. This is something as a vet. You got to step into your throws, and then, if it's not there, live for another play, live for another down. So, for him to be in the league as long as he has been, I need to see him make better judgment play calls. Regardless if he just got thrown in, that has to change this week, especially against Dallas. Because if not, Dallas is going to run a track meet on us, because you cannot allow this defense on Christmas Day to stay on the field long, because then you're going to have Javonte Williams, you're going to have Carl Pickens, you're going to have CeeDee Lamb, you're going to have Flannery if he comes back because he had a concussion today. But you're going to have these guys running the track meet. and even Turpin. You know what I mean? So we Josh Johnson is going to have to play this week. We're going to have to be able to sustain some drives and have some, not keep going 3-0. That is the whole broken record I've seen all year, Denise, with us. Just all 3-and-outs. And, that's the difference of this team of this year, 2025, and the 2024 year team. We were able to sustain long drives and take a lot of time off the clock. So.
Well, I tell you what, when Goddard got his touchdown from the Philadelphia Eagles, that drive was very long.
Yes, it was.
That drive took like 3 days. I mean, they had time to call all types of penalties during that drive. I mean, there was holding, there was pass interference, there was false start, there was holding. I mean, they called a lot of penalties during this very, very
them Zebras, they were very inconsistent. Very, very inconsistent. Just
the black and white stripes were not good to us in this game. I call the referees the black and white stripes because of their shirts. They made several dubious calls that went against the Commanders. And it was kind of encouraging to see Dan Quinn challenge one of the calls where we thought we made a first down, and it was initially ruled a first down, but then they reviewed it and they came and they said, look, we're going to reverse the call that was on the field. It was short. And Dan Quinn challenged that. Now, I appreciate him challenging the call because that let me know he's not trying to be so soft anymore. But that was not the call that I personally would have challenged, because when the black and white stripes make a decision and then they review the decision and they reverse the decision.
Yeah, that was assistant. That was, what did we call that? They called that the assistant review or something like that.
Yeah, assisted review or something like that. It's supposed to be really quick, and it's supposed to be automated. Okay, so they're using technology, and
when do they actually do a virtual chain game versus just an assistant? I've seen that a couple times this year with the virtual chain.
They didn't do it with this one.
No, they didn't. And don't you think they should have did it with this one?
They should have done it with this and a whole bunch of other calls they made, because let me tell you something. Dan Quinn challenged this call, and of course, they sustained their ruling. It was, it was short of a first down.
Right.
But there were other calls, like there was a false start call against number 18. Where they said he jumped offside. I was like, wait a minute. He started when everybody else started, and they showed the replay over and over again, and it was clear he didn't
jump offside. Yeah, he didn't fall
everybody else, So it was Tyler Owens, number 18.
Yeah, Tyler Owens.
When Jake Elliott was kicking his field goal that he missed.
Okay, so you're talking about one of the missed field goals when
it was in between, because this is why Jake Elliott got that second attempt on that 57. At first, it was 57 yards, okay, and he kicked it and missed it. But then the refs called a penalty, and they said that number 18, Tyler Owens of the Commanders, was offside.
Yeah, it was a couple of questionable calls in this game.
He wasn't.
Yeah.
He didn't jump out in front of anybody. He didn't move. He was in the line of scrimmage. He was at the line of scrimmage just like everybody else. And he moved when everybody else moved. He just got to that kicker real quick though. But he didn't, have a false start. Now, that kind of thing, that should have been questioned, because the replay, I don't know if they saw the replay at Northwest Stadium, but they showed the replay to us watching at home on TV, and they showed it over and over again, and there was nothing. Even the commentator said, we don't see it.
Right.
We don't see it. So there were lots of calls. And then they talked after the game, the reporters talked after the game about a pass interference. That took place against one of the Commanders. That was not called. It wasn't called.
I believe that might have been the one when when Quan Martin had the interception and they called a pass interference. I think if that's the one I think you're talking about.
Well, no, this was where one of the commanders was trying to catch the ball.
With that Traylon Burks, that was Traylon Burks.
It was Burks. It was Burks.
Traylon Burks.
Yeah, he was grabbed all over.
Yeah, and he made the catch. And he made the catch. So that was a good one.
And there was no call.
There was no call.
I mean,
but when you're a bad team, though, Denise, you get that. That's going to happen. Yeah, you notice when a lot of good teams. If that was a Kansas City Chief, that was Patrick Mahomes. Some of those type of guys.
Oh, absolutely.
We'd have got those calls, but.
Right.
I mean, we're 4-12. You know what I mean? So we ain't gonna get no respect. We like Rodney Dangerfield. We get no respect at all.
Yeah, and we know we can't depend on the black and white stripes to make calls in our favor. So that's why we have to play clean and clear and make sure that what we do is not questionable, because
we can't leave it in the referee's hands. Right. We can't. And and that was the whole problem even going into this second half, especially in the fourth quarter. You can see that the defense was starting to wear down. Josh Johnson, like we said, came in, he wasn't prepared. We weren't sustaining drives. And then that's when Mr. Saquon Barkley would start going off, man. Saquon started looking like the old Saquon of last year. But, I understood with the defense. I'm like, at this point, it was really nothing too much else you can do. The offense wasn't really giving you anything.
Right, they weren't capitalizing.
No, they were not capitalizing.
But I can say at the beginning of the fourth quarter, the guy who people say is too old, the guy who people say should be put out to pasture, the guy who people say is AARP ready, Mr. Bobby Wagner,
Bobby Boucher.
He sacked Jalen Hurts.
A lot of people want to give up on him. That's why I say, I want to bring Bobby back next year. You know what I mean? I don't know how you lot of Commander fans may feel out there about Bobby Wagner, but he's still playing at a very high level. Okay. I also believe that, as a good defensive coordinator, you put him in a position where he can succeed. You don't put him in a position where, he has to cover. I understand that sometimes you're going to need him to cover, but Bobby is a tackling machine, Denise. So I want to bring him back. I'm sorry. And then, he's like the quarterback of this defense. He aligns people up in the right positions. He makes the calls, but I just like his tenacity. He can't cover like he used to, but he's still making plays. Matter of fact, I believe Bobby's still third or fourth in the league in tackles. So he's playing at a high level. So for people to say that, I do understand we do need to get younger, but we don't have that right now. Jordan McGee right now, I hear Dan Quinn and them talk about it all the time. I hear them say that right now he may be more suited at being an outside linebacker. Okay, so right now until we kind of get that person to replace Bobby, I think right now Bobby is someone you need to still have on your roster next year, and then maybe with another year with Jordan McGee, which is it'll be his third year, but this is really like his rookie year because he was hurt last year, so just he needs more opportunity as well. But speaking of Jordan McGee, Denise, do you see how his speed is off the chain? Like he makes plays, he's sideline to sideline. So I like to see that. So next year I would like to see a little bit more of Bobby and McGee play together. And possibly if you're going to be in a 4-3 at times with Frankie Louvu, if you're going to be moving him around. But we got to get quicker. But I don't think right now he's ready to be a middle linebacker. But I think you do need to have him playing a little bit more with Bobby next year so that, you can kind of unleash him.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely would like to see more of McGee, but
because he's a bright spot. He's definitely a bright spot on that defense.
Yes, absolutely. He's been a bright spot, and he definitely works hard. He does contribute, and he does make a difference when he's out there on the field.
Yes,
now,
he does.
Back to Bobby Wagner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as much criticism as he gets, I think a lot of it is unwarranted because Bobby Wagner gets sacks.
Oh, yeah.
Bobby Wagner gets interceptions, and he has maintained his status all the while as one of the top defensive tackles in the NFL.
Right.
So name me who else on this team.
Linebacker. Yeah, he's a linebacker. Yep.
So name me who else on this team
Mm-hmm.
is top 5 in anything Name me who else on this team is busy being top 5 at anything and getting interceptions and
Wait.
getting sacks.
Yeah,
Okay, on our defense, we don't have anybody else
we
doing that.
do
We
not.
have guys who are younger and stronger and faster, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not top 5 anything.
Nope.
And they're not giving us all those interceptions.
I agree. I
Okay.
agree.
They aren't giving us all those sacks. So when we look at the top people who are getting interceptions on our team,
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Wagner is always in that conversation. We look at the top people getting the most sacks on our team. Bobby Wagner is in that conversation. So because of the sacks, because of the interceptions, because of him being top 5 all the time in terms of defensive tackling, he's at the top of the league.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's justification
Mm-hmm.
to keep him around. That's facts over feeling.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay?
Facts
And
over
if
feeling.
you
You said
want
it.
to replace him, then
Mm-hmm.
you have to get me someone who is doing better
Right.
than what he is doing. So that means you got to get me more sacks, you got to get me more interceptions, and you have to do more defensive tackling. That's a tall order.
Yes,
And
it is.
Bobby Wagner has been carrying that on his shoulders this entire season.
And look, and another thing, Denise, that goes back to like we were talking about with Chad, and we were talking about strength and conditioning. Now here it is. This is a 14-year vet, 14-year vet, right?
Yeah.
This man invested so much in his body. Do you see when Bobby Wagner is out? Bobby Wagner is always available.
Yep.
He's always available. So that's why I was kind of going back to what I said earlier, that somewhat, and I'm not discrediting or disagreeing with you, but accountability has to come with the players too. Because
It
that
always
man,
has to come with the players.
Right.
I don't look. I'm tough on them.
yeah, because that man has a lot of
problem-
mileage on his body. 14 years. And, we go all the way back to Seattle and when he played with the Rams, and the list goes on. But the man is there. He barely takes any snaps off. You know what I mean? So for all the people that want to, I understand, yes, let's get younger, but you can't, his veteran leadership, that's priceless. And you want to have that because trust me, Denise, once he leaves, this team is going to really miss that veteran leadership. You know what I mean? So I want Wags back one more year. Of course, we needed, to have his incumbent person come in eventually, but we still need him on his team because I think he's the heart and soul of that defense.
For all the people who want him off of the team, again, challenge is you have to find someone who gets more sacks, who's doing more tackling, who gets more interceptions. Okay, just to replace him with somebody younger doesn't solve the problem. Okay, because we have guys on this team who are younger, stronger, faster. We do. But like you said, you referenced last week the intangibles. Well, these are tangibles. These are things that can be measured. Okay? What Bobby Wagner is contributing to the team can be measured. His defensive tackles are counted, which is why we know he's at the top of the league. Okay,
Yes.
He's among the top 5. His tackles are counted. His interceptions are counted. These are tangibles that he brings to this team as a veteran in his 18th year of playing football. So again, if anybody wants to, solve, if they want to replace him, we have to get an upgrade, and that's all order.
I don't see that right now. If you look at free agency, I don't see that. You know what I mean? So your best bet is actually either developing someone else on the team, Jordan McGee, or you're gonna have to draft. And that draftee, as as I've heard Brian Mitchell, B. Mitch, and several London Fletcher even talk about. With linebacker, it's like especially middle linebacker, it's kind of like your quarterback or your defense. It actually takes a couple years before you start to get comfortable in that position, as far as making the right calls, make right reads, and just lining people up right. So even we do draft somebody, it's still going to take a couple of years. So to me, if you're going to have somebody come in for Bobby, I would like to see another younger vet. And you notice the key word, younger vets that has experience, because you want to have that person needs to have experience at that position. We cannot get no more slow people. We cannot, Denise. We need team speed bad, especially on
Right.
that defense. You know what I mean? That
That
defense
is
is
true.
lacking team speed so bad.
Yeah, and
So
we would have way more sacks if
yes, I
our
agree.
defensive players were faster, because when you look at the plays,
Hmm.
you can see where a lot of our defensive players are chasing down the QB, but
Yes.
the QB is just too fast. Our
Hmm.
opponents, the QBs they're just too fast. They know how to duck, dodge, bob, and weave, and they avoid those sacks. But
Hmm.
if we had faster players,
And some
they
pass
wouldn't be
rush.
able
Yeah.
they wouldn't be able to get away from our pass rush. So,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know, so we
Yep.
we understand that there is room for improvement, and we
Definitely.
see that
Definitely.
there are voids that need to be filled. However,
Hmm.
when you bring in somebody new and you want to get rid of somebody old, you have to look at the tangibles
Yeah.
and see where you stand. And I appreciate your point about getting a veteran, because if you get a younger veteran, at least that person has had time to
Yes.
build up their stats so that they can come to the table and say, well, this is how many tackles, defensive tackles I have, and this is how many interceptions, or this is how many sacks, or
Yeah.
this is how I impact the game. Whereas, a rookie can't give you any of that because they haven't been out there playing.
No, and
Not
and the best way, and that goes back to like what we were saying with Jaden Frost this year. The
yeah,
best you have to be on the field to get game time experience.
right.
You can have all the mental reps. You can watch the all 22 all day. Live bullets being in the actual live game, that's the best reps.
That's it.
So you definitely need that. So I hope that we do, if we can find someone that's going to possibly, or even just split the time up a little bit with Bobby.
Yeah.
It has to be a vet with some experience, with some speed. And right now, I don't know who that can be. So I'm fine with Bobby. To some people that say he need to go,
He's been a great
he's been a
placeholder,
great placeholder.
for
Yes.
the next person, to come in. He's been a great placeholder.
He
But
kind of been like our London Fletcher of this era, of this time.
yes,
Kind of like London Fletcher. I mean, he's not sideline to sideline no more like how London was, but the old Bobby, you know what I mean? But at least I can say to these, because you and I have always said, it seems like when other players have played at other teams, or when they come here, they don't produce. Well, I can say Wags has definitely produced
yes,
for us. The
he
2
has
seasons that he
maintained
has
his
been here for us,
stats.
this man has averaged over 100 and something tackles for the year. I believe last year he finished with 114. You know what I mean? So he's been very productive. He's a tackling machine. Yes, he can't cover in space, but that's not what I want him for. I don't want him to cover in space. I want him there to be my coach on defense, for him to line up, to get the guys lined up, and to make solid plays. And every time I turn around, I always see number 54 number in there. What you
Yes,
think? I'm always seeing that
exactly.
in the pile, or always making a tackle. So I'm for bringing Bobby Wagner back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have to work with him, and like you said, eventually he can transition to just being leadership, but
Yes.
he's been a contributing player.
Yes.
So until you get this better replacement, he is the placeholder. He's the guy who's holding that position down, and you'd be hard pressed to find somebody better. But by all means, the challenge is there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
do
Absolutely.
that.
You're right. I mean, even with K. Madrano, I want to see some of these guys that we did draft, be able to get some time. We're not going to see that this year, but I need them to, these rookies, I need them next year to take big steps, because
Well, let me have a petty moment.
go ahead, have your moment.
I'm going to have a petty moment.
Have
Okay.
your moment. There
Based
it is.
on all of the injuries that we have endured this year on this Commanders team, for the Dallas Cowboys game and for the Philadelphia Eagles game that are coming up starting Christmas Day, I would put everybody out there who has not had a chance to play. I would rest every single one of our starting lineup players, because at this point, especially with this particular game against Philadelphia, we had so many players to go out injured just in this game alone. And this has been happening to us game after game throughout the season. We've been losing players. Not only have we been losing games, but we've been losing players to injury. And at this point, when our players get injured, we don't know how long it's going to take to rehabilitate, recover, recuperate. So we might be running up into the beginning of next season, and we don't want to delay anybody's season next year. We want everybody to be back all together and fully recovered and recuperated from the injuries of this season. But the later in the season you go, the longer the recovery time could take, and it could run you right up into next season. And that's what we don't want. So in my petty moment, if I could do it, I would let the Dallas Cowboys play everybody who has not had an opportunity to play in Burgundy and Gold. If you are on this roster and you collect a paycheck, you get to play on Christmas Day. Merry Christmas. And you get to play against the Philadelphia Eagles when we see them again. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. All of it. Because I would not put Terry out there. I would not put Krosky Merritt out there. I would not put C. Rodriguez out there. I would not put Josh.
Laramie Tunsil as well, because he's
not him. No,
yeah,
not him. It would be Josh and whoever's been with him not getting reps. Okay. Whoever he's been with, because we don't know who he's been with, but whoever he's been with, they would all get to go out there. So everybody, the same way that Dan Quinn changes who the captains of the team are every week. Okay. Guess what? You get to be a captain, you get to be a captain, and you get to start, you get to play, and everybody will get some playing experience, because I would not put the guys that we need as our starters in any further jeopardy, because there is no payoff for that.
Right. So look, Denise, speaking of that, as we saying, playing some of the younger people, why do you think, like today, yesterday, I only seen Ben Sinnott get 2 catches or 2 receptions. Why is it now with Zach Ertz being out? Why do you think, because with him being your 3rd round pick, you would think that, this is the time, like you said, play some of your younger guys. Why do you think he's not getting the opportunity that he should be getting? I mean, before Yankoff got hurt, Yankoff was getting more burned than he was. Now that it's just John Bates and it's Sinnott, why is Cliff not looking to try to get him more involved? What do you think about that?
See, that's the whole deal. It's the mind of Cliff Kingsbury, who don't know what his reasoning is, what his logic is, what his train of thought is, because he should be giving our players that have been drafted opportunities to play, because that's a key part of player development. And I have been complaining all season long that this team has not shown me that they are very good at player development.
Yeah, so it's showing.
Draft a player and you don't give him reps, and you've been racked and riddled with injuries, and you've been going from player to player to player, but you don't put the guy you drafted out there. See, that betrays a lack of confidence in that player's ability. Okay. And it's wasted time that you could have been helping that player hone their talents. So that is down to Cliff Kingsbury. And while you have been a fan of Cliff Kingsbury
in the past,
and look, I've been very harshly critical of him, but I did offer him an apology when he did well. I did do that. Okay. Yes, I did apologize to him.
That was very fair. You did do that. Yes, you did.
Yeah, I raked him over the coals and he came back and did a good job. So I did apologize to him. But overall, I do not understand or agree with the overall scheming of Cliff Kingsbury as the offensive coordinator. Yeah. Now, one thing that I was relieved about in this game against the Philadelphia Eagles is that when we used the running game to get us all the way down the field to the red zone,
he stuck with it more.
He did keep running, and that's why Krosky Merritt got that touchdown. Because in the past, Cliff Kingsbury would let us run the ball all the way down the field, get to the red zone, then he wants to start passing.
Right.
And then we get all those incompletions and run the possibility of getting interceptions. And we were not capitalizing. We were not coming away with points on the board, you know. So I think it's Cliff Kingsbury. I don't understand, what his mindset is. And he kept running that ball this time because of all the backlash.
Right.
Okay?
Right. And you know what, too, Denise?
Reactionary.
Shout out. We forgot to do this. Shout out to Bill for winning Rookie of the Week. He was the Pepsi Rookie of the Week for last week, and he deserved it. So I think that's why this week that Cliff decided he wanted to give him a little bit more burn because he was Rookie of the Week. But Bill, congratulations! This is I believe your second or third time this year. Congratulations on to you, and I hope you stack up many, many more, my brother. But we need those.
Not this season.
Yeah, not this season. But we need those to come next year with some W's. We need some W's behind that, man. So
so I would definitely sit Krosky Merritt. I would not let him play. I wouldn't let anybody in our starting lineup that we are going to be depending on next season.
So you say sit Terry? So you're saying sit Terry, even though Terry's been out all the time?
Especially Terry. Because look, Terry, even though he's been injured, even though he's been out, he's been in more than he's been out. And when he's in, Terry has been a game changer. Okay. He makes touchdowns and he gets key first downs for us to extend our drives. Right. So no.
He's our spark. What about Debo? Would you continue to play Debo?
No, Debo doesn't play. Any name you know and can recognize, they don't play. Yeah, everybody out there will be a name you don't know.
Okay, so with Debo,
except Josh, because
so
he
with
played
Debo, right? With Debo, we don't know. We don't know if Debo is going to be here next year. We don't know.
I don't care. He's not. No. Anybody the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles have film on?
Yeah.
No. You're playing a whole bunch of strangers. I'm going to tell whoever the guy is that hands out towels and Gatorade, suit up, baby. Suit up. You're going
That's
out.
The water boy. That's water boy. That's
not for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. Not for the. They won't be the water boy the next 2 weeks. They're going to play a position on that field.
Right.
So no, nobody. You wouldn't know anybody if I had my druthers in this. If I had my choice, no, you wouldn't recognize any name except Josh Johnson because he played this week. But everybody he's been practicing or not practicing with, everybody he's not been getting reps with,
he needs to get those reps. Yeah, you're right.
Because then the guys would have a chance to go out there and
prove it
themselves.
Prove it. This is a prove point now.
Jobs, and show what they can do. And they're the young hungries. They're the ones with the hunger, the drive, the determination. We talk about people having nothing to lose, but if there's nothing to lose, there could be something to gain.
Absolutely.
Okay? And everybody would then have some real world NFL playing experience, and the guys that we're counting on next season will be preserved. That would be my way of handling the next 2 games, because otherwise we are taking unnecessary risks, because we didn't see Marcus Mariota getting hurt with somebody stepping on his hand with their. We didn't.
So do you think he will be available against Dallas, or you think that's pretty much
no?
You think you've seen the last of
Dan Quinn already said Josh Johnson is starting next week.
Yeah, so it's safe to say that
next week, Christmas.
So it's safe to say he probably won't. He may play that Philly game, but Philly ain't gonna play none of their starters.
I'm sure he will want to play the Philly game, but I would not let him play the Philly game.
Yeah, I would just go with Josh Johnson myself.
That's right. I mean, from here on out, hey, everybody who's been getting a paycheck, now you get to really go out there and earn it. So
you're right. Yeah, you're right. So we seen the tide of the turn throughout this game. We seen how it was slipping away from us, Denise. Like I said, once Josh Johnson came in there, we seen how Jalen Hurts. We seen Saquon Barkley get in the groove, and also
because Josh Johnson threw an interception to Cooper DeJean.
Yeah,
and that really set a negative tone for him being out there, as our backup quarterback, and that definitely was a momentum stealer.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about. He threw off his back foot, and I'm like, come on, you're a vet. You shouldn't be throwing it all. And then where you were throwing it, like just live for another play.
Right.
How
Because
you
it was
throw it,
unnecessary.
it was very unnecessary.
It was unnecessary. But then, Jalen and the boys got back to it.
Yeah.
So Saquon Barkley got a touchdown. And one thing I noticed about Saquon Barkley's touchdown in the fourth quarter was how many tackles he broke.
Oh, after yards after contact.
Yes. Yards after the catch, baby. Yards after contact. Yards after everything. He pushed through because there were several Commanders who got their hands on Saquon Barkley as he was going toward the goal line. Okay. But he broke so many tackles, not just one, not just two. He broke many tackles to get into the end zone. And that let me know that our defense had indeed been depleted because
you can see it.
Our offense wasn't staying on the field long.
Yeah.
And Philly had exceptionally long drives. They were going out there making it work, doing what they could do. So Saquon Barkley got a touchdown, and that made it Philadelphia 21 to Commanders 10. And man, I just
And then after when Saquon, once they sat him, then you had the other running back that came in, Tank Bigsby. He came in and gave Philly's offense a spark. Which in the next drive, he ended up scoring a 22-yard touchdown run, which made the score 27-10, the Eagles. And pretty much then I knew it was out of reach.
Fourth quarter. We're in the fourth quarter.
And now this goes to show now, Denise, now that we've come up to this leading point right here, right? This was when Nick Sirianni went for the 2-point conversion to Saquon Barkley, right? And Saquon got the 2-point conversion.
Yep.
But then after, here comes the big melee, okay, with the big fight that happened. And this time, I know how you feel about Ken Law. I ain't mad at him this time because I forget number 54 from the Eagles. The big guy tried to pick on Mikey, and man, they let him have it. They jumped him, but they let him have it. So it showed me that, with this Commanders team, even though it's been a long season, it's been a depleted season, it still shows me somewhat of brotherhood that they take up for each other, and you still see that they fight for each other. So I was kind of, even though I think some fines or maybe some suspensions might happen after this game, but I was proud to see that they took up for each other. And, I think Philly was just trying to rub mud in the face, but that's Nick Sirianni. I expected that. So, and Josh Johnson said it himself. We'll see him in 2 weeks. Well, that's good bad talk, but let's really see. Are we going to see them in 2 weeks? Because in 2 weeks, I think they're not going to even play none of their starters. So, to be on get back, okay, that's fine. But I was happy to see that, though, Denise. That was my point I was making. I was happy to see that the team still stuck together, regardless how long this season has been. You don't really see no finger pointing or nothing with this team. So maybe DQ has, we hear this word culture, that we heard a lot from Ron Rivera days. We hear the word culture, but maybe we finally do have some good culture, here. Now it's time to put the talent of play with the culture. So that's all I have on that. But, this game, I was pretty much glad it was over with because I was seeing this game just slipping. The defense was just actually, you can see they were worn out. They were dejected. The offense wasn't giving them nothing to be happy about. So I was glad this game was over with because it could have got uglier.
Well, let me give you my take.
Okay.
On this fight.
Okay.
Now, I am not advocating violence. Mm-hmm. Okay. I like for the players to be professional.
Oh, yes.
I like for them to abide by the rules.
Yes.
Okay. And in terms of that 2-point conversion, teams do have the option when they score a touchdown to either kick for the extra point or go for the 2-point conversion. That is an option. It is within the rules. So I don't have a problem with the Philadelphia Eagles, going for that 2-point conversion, whether they were stacking points or whether they were, rubbing salt in the wound. That is their option. They earned it by getting into the end zone. Okay. Now, when it came to that fight, I think the Eagles, all of them, were already winning the game. At this point, we are at 29-10, and we're in the fourth quarter. Okay, 29-10 is the score. So, for all intents and purposes, the game had already been won by the Philadelphia Eagles, and it had already, for all intents and purposes, been lost by the Commanders. Okay, but for them to get into a skirmish that turned into a melee, that is against the rules.
Yeah.
And that's not, and Dan Quinn said it right. It's not what you want to happen.
No.
But I'm glad it did. Hey,
yeah,
that was the best part of the game.
Yeah, that was the best part, and
I liked.
And you seen some fight in that team. You seen that
absolutely.
Even though we lose, we're not gonna push us around. So
you already won the football game. Guess what? You're not gonna win. You're not gonna win the brawl. Okay, because you are in our house. You are in Northwest Stadium. You are not in Philly. You are not in the state of Pennsylvania. You are in our house. So for these guys to get together, for them to band together, let me tell you, folks, this was a model of real world teamwork. Okay. And I'm not putting it down to Dan Quinn because, I think Dan Quinn is soft. But what I do see
his team not though. It don't seem that the team is.
When these players act independently, there's nothing soft about them. They are not punks. Look, even if you come into their house and even if you win the football game, you don't get to put your hands on anybody. And when that big Philadelphia Eagle was swatting, because see, look, he lost his mind because Joker, you're supposed to be an eagle. You're not supposed to be King Kong. You're not supposed to be a silverback. He was swatting like he was hitting Mikey Sainristil, who's like half his size. And when the other commanders saw that, they all converged upon him. And let me tell you, you didn't see an eagle. You didn't see green. They
ripped his helmet off too, didn't they?
All you saw was burgundy and gold. Yep. And I am proud of our guys. I appreciate our guys. They show great teamwork because they say, look, if one can't take them, all the rest of us will get up in there and we will pound him down into the turf. And I love that part. And let me tell you, we always listen to Dan Quinn, give these philosophical outlooks on, teamwork and working together. This was teamwork because let me tell you something, it was a singularity of focus. Okay. The mission was clear. You don't come in our house and disrespect us in a physical.
Not in our house.
You can beat us in football, but you will not beat us in a brawl because when it comes to throwing hands, throwing punches and fists and everything else, we got you because this is burgundy and this is gold. And what did we see when it all went down? We saw burgundy and gold. We didn't see green. We saw burgundy and gold. And they encircled that guy because he was swatting. That eagle was swatting, and he tried to scoop back.
Ain't nothing he could do. They got on him. They got on him like a pack of bees.
And took him down.
And took him down.
And I loved it. I loved it. That was
ripped
the
his
best
helmet
part
off.
of the game.
Yep.
So if I ever had any questions about these players understanding the concept and components of teamwork and the benefits of teamwork, they answered my questions in the affirmative. Yes, they do, because they had singularity of focus. They understood the mission. They trust each other because they were there for each other. Okay, no questions asked, no hesitation, no trepidation. They took on that opponent and they knew the mission was get him off of Mikey, make sure he knows, because the message was clear.
Yeah. Big Kinlaw was up in there too. He was letting them know.
You will not fight us. You will not fight us and win. Now, you can fight us if you want to, but you will not win. And as dirty as those birds are, the Commanders lost the football game, but they won the brawl. The brawl after it all. They won that fight. And so,
we lost the game, but we didn't lose the fight.
Kinlaw got ejected, and Quan Martin got ejected, and the Steelers got Tyler Steen.
He should have been ejected.
But let me tell you something. Tyler Steen got ejected for his own safety and protection because honey took his behind down, and they surrounded him. They was about to
put him on the protection witness program, wasn't
That's
it?
right. So they had to get him out of there for his own
Look,
safety and
hey, look,
protection.
you even seen when Quan went off the field, Eagles
Yes.
fans was talking trash and he was flicking them all. So Quan was
He
ready.
told them they were number one with a different finger. Okay, he let them know. Yeah, So it was, but it was good to see. I enjoyed it. That was my favorite part of the game.
That was my favorite part too, because it showed me they still had some fight and some grit, and regardless of how the season has gone, they still sticking up for each other. And I think Denise, you know what, and I think some of my Commander fans out there think like I think. And you do too as well. I think some of this will translate over to next year, as far as just to see the brotherhood, just knowing that if we stick together in bad times, it's always good to stick together in good times.
Right.
But to stick together in bad times, what I mean? I think
the brawl.
Yeah, and I think that's just going to really, when you say who got my back, I got your back. They've really shown
they all had each other's backs.
They got each other back.
Dan Quinn did speak about, the brotherhood and, how the players are not going to, let anybody get picked on.
Anybody, anywhere, anytime. Yeah.
And I appreciate that. So that was a real world example of teamwork. We always think about teamwork in workplaces, in an organizational type culture. But sometimes in the real world, when things go wrong and things go bad and things go in a way that you don't expect and you weren't necessarily prepared for, sometimes, it's all hands on deck. And this was a shining example of every burgundy and gold hand being on deck. And the eagle got his wings clipped because, again, he wasn't trying to be an eagle. He thought he was King Kong. And they took him all the way down. And we saw a sea of burgundy and gold. And our guys, they acted with intent because they're not going to let any of our individual players get attacked and brutalized and beat, especially when the game had already basically been won and lost. So
it was won and lost. You're right. It was a done deal.
I don't understand why any eagle,
they would have
an attitude when you won the game. You should be happy. This is you clinching the division championship, which, by the way, is the first time in 20 years.
21 years that has been won back to back. Yeah.
Right. A team has won the division in 2 years straight, 2 consecutive years. So they had a lot to celebrate. They had a lot to be happy about. But they want to pick a fight with a team that they've already practically beaten. Yeah. So I'm glad our Commanders took control of the brawl, won the brawl after it all. It wasn't the brawl for it all. It was the brawl after all. But they won it. And then in garbage time, we got a touchdown. McNichols.
Jeremy McNichols,
Rodriguez. Rodriguez scored a touchdown in garbage time. And McNichols got the 2-point
conversion. Yes.
So that's what put us up.
Yeah, garbage points. 18. That was garbage points. It was pretty much done.
Right.
But, I'll take it for what.
But see, but I mean, it was what it was. But our guys were able to walk out of there with their heads held high, and the message was sent loud and clear: we are not punks. You're not going to come in here and beat us at football and beat us in fighting too. You got to pick one.
Yeah, we may have lost the battle, but we ain't lose the fight. So yeah,
that's right. The brawl went to the Commanders. Okay, the evidence is in. Okay, we didn't need any referees to call that one. We saw it. We saw it. The tape is there, and I've been watching that fight on a loop. And I probably shouldn't be doing that. I probably should be a little more ladylike and just say, "Oh, I want them to work it out peacefully." But no, I enjoyed that fight. That fight was the highlight of the season, and I don't care. And I'm not down on Ken Law. I'm not down on Ken Law at all. I'm not down on anybody. I'm not down on Quan Martin. If they get fined, give them a bonus. That offset it. If they get suspended, so what? I wouldn't play them again anyway. So every boxer gets time off or takes time off after a prize fight. These guys deserve some rest and relaxation. They deserve some R&R. So for everybody who was in the brawl after it all, Merry
Yeah.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And,
Yep.
and you get some time off. Now you can recuperate, you can rest, you can do whatever it is you need to do, because I wouldn't put them back on the field for the rest of this season. These 2 last remaining games, I wouldn't do it. And Dan Quinn, when he was asked about the fight, he didn't have that much to say. Like at first,
No, he was pissed off at Nick Sirianni. You notice when they shook hands, Dan ain't say nothing to him.
Well, Dan didn't hurry up out there to shake hands either. You know, but I don't see that part. I'm not feeding into. I'm not feeding into. Dan didn't like him going for the 2-point conversion, because if Dan had coached up a better team, if he had done some better coaching, and if he had gotten better performance out of his team, the outcome might have been different. Now, here's the thing: the coaches wore clothing and gear that had a message. Okay. Dan's sweatshirt said "Inspire Change." Dan Quinn's sweatshirt said "Inspire Change." Mm-hmm. Dan has not inspired any change, so that was false advertisement. The Philadelphia Eagles head coach had a hat on that had opportunity on it, and the unity and opportunity was highlighted. Unity. Well, that's what our commander showed when they put your behinds in that brawl. They united. They showed unity to bring your player down and win that brawl. So, there were messages out there. Dan Quinn said, he didn't care for that, and we'll if that's how you get down, then we'll see you, next game.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Yep.
But the thing about it is, again, as I said in my opening part of the statement, I'm not mad at the Eagles for going for a 2-point conversion. That is their option. Right. They can kick an extra point, or they can go for a 2-point conversion. That is a choice, and it is a choice well within the rules of the NFL. Right. Now we can always say, "Oh, they didn't need the 2 points," but so what? We don't get to say what they.
That's football.
What they
that's
need.
Football. Yeah, it's football. For anybody that says that, nobody has to show you mercy. Nobody's going to feel sorry.
Right. If they want to stack points, they can stack points. If we want to keep playing,
you got to stop it. That's the main thing you do. If they're going to do
it,
stop it.
That's your only option. That's your only option is to stop it. And if you can't stop it, then you run out of options, and there's nothing you can do but just take it. And just like we went for the touchdown and 2-point conversion in garbage time.
Yeah.
We did it.
It was out of reach. It was out of reach. Right. So
but we
didn't even have to do that
anyway. Right. So if we can keep playing, guess what? The winning team can keep playing too. And if they want to stack points, or if they want to practice a 2-point conversion because they are going to the playoffs, unlike us, then that's what they can do. That's their choice. But for Dan Quinn to get upset about that, I think that was misfocused. Gotcha. Okay, that's not the thing. He's got a 99 things to be mad about, and Philly going for a 2-point conversion shouldn't be one of them. Okay,
absolutely.
So, but he said, he said the right thing though about the fight. He said, he wanted to look at the film to really see what happened, see how it started and whatever. Yeah. And then he came back later in a different presser and said that he looked at the film and he really didn't learn very much from it. It didn't really reveal.
You can't. You're not going to learn nothing from it now. But look, Denise, before we actually put our final thoughts on this, let me say this to all the Commander fans out there. I want you to take the time, ladies and gentlemen, so please hit your like button, share, subscribe, and smash your bell icon, and so that you can get all the videos when we drop when we go live, or when we drop a new video. We want to appreciate everyone for definitely supporting Two of a Kind Sports. Denise and I, we work very hard along with our technical advisor, Shori. Shout out to Shori.
Yes.
He's been a very, very instrumental tool to our team. And we're on our journey to 1,000 subscribers. So tell a friend to tell a friend. We need to keep this thing going and growing for fresh new content. As we say, this is Two of a Kind Sports, the show with passion that meets the game. So, Denise, I want to get your thoughts that what you want to see as far as with us coming into this Cowboy game. The Eagles game is done. The NFC East has already been won. But what do you want to see coming into this this NFC East showdown? Supposed to be once our hated biggest rival, okay? But not only that, with us going down to our third string quarterback, what do you want to see, and how do you expect this game to turn out?
Well, what I want to see is all new players. I want to see players I've never seen before. I want everybody who's on this roster to be
Yes.
given an opportunity who has not had the chance to play. I don't want to see any of our starting lineup return.
Hmm.
It's time to go into preservation mode. It is time to protect and shield our players that we know we're going to be depending on next season. We need to protect and preserve them from injury, possible injury.
Right.
Marcus Mariota's incident was a sign, and we're getting down to the very end of the season, and when these players get injured, we don't know how long their recovery and recuperation will take.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't know, so we don't want to run them right up into the next season. Okay, because they need a clear and good opportunity to heal, to recover, to recuperate, and be able to go back out to that gridiron and take those hits. So we already have too many players who are currently rehabbing from injury, who are trying to recover and recuperate. So we don't need to continue to add to that list. And that's what this game did against the Eagles. It added to that list. And I would just hope that, but I don't, hope we can keep hope alive.
Keep hope alive. I was just about to say that too.
But I don't expect Dan Quinn to do what I'm suggesting because, he has a totally different management style than what I would like to see from our head coach. But I would like to see new players, young players, inexperienced players who are on this roster have a chance to go out there and earn their paycheck. All season long, Dan Quinn has been telling the players to go out there and have fun.
Yeah,
well,
I agree with you.
Now these guys who haven't had a chance can go out there and have fun. They can play for whatever they want to play for. They can play for pride. They can play for personal stats. They can play for personal growth. They can play to get some real world NFL experience. They can play to say that they've actually played an NFL game. They can go out there and say they've actually been on the big stage. There's a lot that they can go out there and play for without us running the risk of further injury to our team players who we have come to depend on.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
And
well,
win, lose, or draw, it doesn't make a difference because whether we went end this season with 5 wins or whether we end this season with 6 wins, it's not going to make a difference.
Denise, I don't think we're even going to get that 5 or that 6.
And that's the thing. Nobody is expecting a 5th or a 6th win. I think
would I want us to? Yes, but I don't think.
Yeah, everybody pretty much has us down for the 4 wins that we've got. And so there's no point. There's no point in risking further injury. That is my focus at this point. It's injuries. It's not the outcome of the games. Normally, my focus would be on getting wins. Stack up wins, go for the win, try to do what you can to get a win. But at this point, the fat lady has sung.
Definitely sung. Yeah.
We don't like the song she's singing, but we still have to acknowledge that, for all intents and purposes, this season is over. And when it comes down to people saying, well, you got to play for pride and they're still getting a paycheck and they have a job to do. Let me tell you, that brawl encompassed all of those principles, all of those components, all of those aspects that you want to see from dedicated professionals. So questions asked, questions answered. So that's it. So these gentlemen, in my eyes, have nothing more to prove.
Right. I agree. So with that spiel, and that was a very good take, Denise. I really agree with you 1,000% on that. With me, all I'm expecting this week coming up against the Dallas Cowboys is us to continue to fight, see some type of effort, regardless if there's no starters in there, even if there is your second or your third stringers in there. I still want to see us be some type of competitive team. This cannot be a walkover. This cannot be an embarrassment on Christmas Day. Now, mind you, this is a Netflix special. It's a 1 p.m. game here at Northwest Stadium. So I'm expecting all Cowboys fans, all Commanders fans to show up and show out. Commanders fans, we try and play spoilers. At this point, I would love to give them a nice, another nice gift. We already gave them one well, they already have one. Is they're going to be on the couch with us watching the playoffs. So I'm happy about that because as I heard from all these Dallas fans, oh, we're going to win out and this, that, and the other. So to see them not make the playoffs, I'm so happy. I don't want to root for no Eagle fan either, but I'd rather the Eagle be in there than a freaking Cowboy fan. So, like I said, with me, I just want to see effort, see us be competitive, and let's execute. Put in your young talent, and let's see what we got. That's the only way we're going to be able to evaluate film next year going into the offseason. We only have to, after this game, we have one more game, which is the Philadelphia Eagles. So it's time to see these young players, and let's just see what we got, Denise. That's pretty much all I have, but
yeah.
That's it. That's it. And, I just want to tell everybody, thank you again for Two of a Kind Sports. And Denise, what do you have to say? Do you have anything you want to say to the people before we roll out of here?
Yeah, I do. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in. We do appreciate your viewership.
Yes.
We appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate all the comments we get. We do respond. And I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas because we will see you after Christmas. The Commanders play on Christmas Day. And so I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. And I want to say a special thanks to our technical advisor, Shori. He does a wonderful job with us. He works tirelessly around the clock to help us do what it is we need to do. So I appreciate that. So thank you so much, Shori. And I want to once again encourage everyone, if you get anything from this program, if you get entertained, if you get information, if you like anything you see or you disagree with what you see, please give us a like, share our content because we want to get out there. Once your friends know about us, they will enjoy us and they will tune in. So share it with your friends and family. And please subscribe to our channel. And we are on all platforms. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, X, Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. So we are all over all the social media platforms. And please just keep in mind, Two of a Kind is just getting started. So if you like what you see now, oh boy, you have
it's only going to get better.
Treats coming in the future. So thank you so much for tuning in, and please plan to be with us after the Dallas game, the Dallas Cowboys game on Christmas Day. We will be coming with our recap at some point soon thereafter. So be sure to tune in. And if you are subscribed to us, then you will automatically get a notification of when we go live, when we drop new content. So that is a benefit of being subscribed and following us on social.
That's right.
So thank you so very much. And again, Merry Christmas to everyone. And thank you, Commanders, for winning that brawl because that was my Christmas gift. I accept it with graciousness and appreciation. I really did like that. And that made the loss very, very tolerable.
Yes.
It made, because the sting was there. Injury was already added to insult. But now that I know that when it gets down to it, my guys will brawl, my guys will line up, they will step up, they will beat a joker down. I really like that. That was very encouraging for me. So I am proud of our guys. I know it's not, smiled upon in the NFL establishment, and whatever Goodell decides to hand down as punishment, we will take it.
Yeah, we'll take it. Yep,
take it. Thank you.
So all I want to say is to all my Commander fans out there throughout the world, even over in Spain, because we got a lot of friends and family that's over in Spain, all over throughout the world. I want to say to everyone to have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you all. We really appreciate you supporting Two of a Kind Sports. I'm D Nice, and that's Denise. And stay tuned to a new next episode. We will be going live again the day after Christmas. So we'll be going live again for, doing a recap on the Dallas Cowboys. And we're going to wish us a W. But at the end of the day, I just want to tell everybody, thank you so much for supporting us. And as always, love someone, hug someone. Thank you.